What's up, y'all? Henry Higuita here with another episode of Across the Pitch, where we don't throw the tea, we spill it. And down here, we prefer our tea sweet anyways. You know what else would be sweet? A win on Saturday at home against visiting New England Revolution to close out this 3-game homestand. And I have with me someone who is here to spill the tea on Atlanta United's next opponent, Jake Catanese of the Blazing Musket. Jake, thanks for hopping on, man. How are you?
I'm great. I've never actually thought about throwing sweet tea into the harbor, but that's where tea belongs up here. So I don't know. We're going to test how that works up here. I don't know. Never done that before.
Yeah, I mean, new traditions are meant to be made, right? That's a thing. Y'all had if I remember, there was a video of y'all trying to start a tradition where y'all were throwing like a box of tea or something. Am I making this up?
No. So this occurred. So I used to work for an independent baseball team, and it no longer exists. But we do dumb stuff like that all the time. I'm like, okay, like throwing a tea crate. Like, no. There wasn't a tea crate back in 1773. It was all the tea crates. You need like 30 of these things. You need like an entire youth soccer team, like 10 season ticket holders, and then like whoever your whatever guests are. You need like a ton of these things. So the first time, I think it was poor Scotty Coble was the guy who like threw like the one thing of tea like over the side. I'm like, no, guys, we need to go big or go home here. And I don't think we're doing it this year because it's like everyone's like, guys, this is dumb. I'm like, no, it could have been fun, but no, we didn't try hard enough. Is what I believe. I wrote a column about that last year. I'm like, come on, guys, you have to do this. You have to go all the way.
I agree. You got to be committed to the bit. You got to, if you're going to do it a little bit, you got to do it the whole way. So,
and I know everyone's like, how many cool things can you do? Like, listen, it's New England. It's cold. We don't want to be doing this stuff for like, an hour before the game starts. We don't have an indoor ginormous golden spike with like, rappers that can hit it all the time. Like, we're not that cool up here. I'm very sorry. We do college basketball in the state that shall not be named in New England, where I'm from. And that's about it. So that's all we got.
We got a little bit more about the Revs. Let's talk about them. It's been a few years of ups and downs. They had that record-breaking season in 2021, followed by missing the playoffs in 2022. And they jumped right back in, 5th place in the East in 2023. And then they came crashing back down in 2024 to 14th. What's going on with New England? What's with this roller coaster that they're on?
So they really 2021 was something that is really magical because it's for New England. Hitting on 3 DPs is not something this organization's really ever done. So to have Carlos Heel, Gustavo Bo, Adam Buxa as a front 3 that somehow clicked because Buxa, just a ginormous Polish forehead in the box to aim for. Gustavo Bo is a sorcerer. There's no other way to describe it. He just pounces on everything. That's why we called him La Pantera. And then Carlos Gil is a league MVP, legitimate, elite number 10 playmaker in this league still. It all clicked that one year. I can't explain it. Defense was on point most of the year. Players are getting hurt. You're plugging in guys in the midfield, guys in the back line. Didn't matter. You missed Carlos Gil for a month. You still managed to drag out a bunch of results without him. And then the Bruce Arena situation, he ends up leaving. So the Revs in 2023 were actually in second place. They were like, I think 2 points behind Cincinnati when that occurred. And ever since then, it has been a long downhill slide to where they are now, which is, I believe, 13th with 1 win so far this year under Caleb Porter's tenure after a year of not winning a whole lot the year before either. So very much not something we're looking forward to is going down to Atlanta, which is a known house of horrors for us since you guys showed up. Thanks for that, by the way.
Yeah, we're always happy to drop a touchdown. Oh shoot, this is wrong version of football. Sorry.
Wrong version. Yeah, wrong. Don't bring that up around here because all the Patriot fans are going to remind you about that 28-3 thing. I know it's not the same sport. We don't want to talk about that.
Let's change the topic. Actually, let's start by talking about one of the highlights of this offseason. Signing of Leo Campana, 24-year-old striker who had 32 goals, 8 assists, and 100 appearances for Inter Miami, was their top goal scorer until one Lionel Messi showed up. He's only played 3 games due to injury with New England. Are we going to see him on Saturday?
Probably not. So he picked up a hamstring injury very early in game 3. He's effectively missed the last month. He's very close, but I wouldn't expect him maybe more towards the end of the month. He also might return right around the same time that Thomas Chankale is going to come back from season-ending injury from last year. So that's why the Revs had to go out and get an international spot from Vancouver on April 1st. Oh, yeah, that's a long turnover list. A lot of MLS guys in and out. Revs very busy on the international market. The two guys actually we should talk about. Brian Ceballos and Mamadou Fofana, the two center backs. I think the Revs, at the very least, have hit home runs at the defensive position, at the very least, despite all of New England's attacking woes, which we'll get to. They've definitely hit on the two center backs for sure. That was a problem last year for New England. Part of it style, part of it personnel, other trades that were made middle of last year that aren't on this list. DeJuan Jones and Henry Kessler going to the Crew in St. Louis, respectively. So a very new look back line for the Revs all the way across the board. The only one who's effectively returning is Peyton Miller, who's a homegrown player who started mostly the second half of last year, and then Will Sands, who they got back in the DeJuan Jones trade. But it's a very, very busy offseason for the Revs, a whole new center group in the back line there. But definitely Ceballos and Fofana have been tremendous additions. It's just now a matter of when they get the ball and getting it forward, that's been the issue.
And the defense definitely deserves credit. I mean, 7 goals conceded in 6 games. It's not like y'all are getting just, barraged by goals. The goals are just aren't coming at the other end.
Yeah, and for a team that I think gave up, it was like 75 goals last year, and I think only worse was San Jose, who was like record-setting however many they gave up last year. The defense has been a great turnaround. It's been a lot more organized. Al-Hassan Yusuf was another guy who came in halfway through the year, not on the in or out list from last year. And again, another tremendous asset. Now it's just a matter of, again, what the Revs really lack is when they get the ball, getting the ball forward. And usually getting the ball forward quickly has been the problem. Last year it was just non-existent in transitional play. The last couple of games have been better. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but someone on the Blazing Musket did a breakdown of the touches the Revs had in the penalty box the first 6 games. There weren't any touches in the penalty box like the first 3 games, like at all. I think they had like 6. And then now the last 2 games, they've actually got more shots inside the area, more touches inside the area. It was literally, they were not even getting passes inside the box. Now they're, much more consistent the last 2 games, but it has been a struggle, and you're hoping that, particularly when Campana comes back up top, that'll solve some of those issues, but it's still, part of it has to be some kind of tactical or game planning from Caleb Porter's part, because it certainly did not work last year, and it has not been working this year.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about the outgoings, and you have a lot of guys here, several, MLS players, several guys that have been around a little bit, and several that left to join Bruce Arena at San Jose, and that little interesting kind of swap that y'all had.
New England West, San Jose East. Yeah, there were a lot of jokes on the internet about that one. Twitter was howling for a good month in that offseason.
But
yeah, it's been interesting.
Yeah, and I wanted to spotlight on one of them, Giacomo Vrioni. He came in 2022, was supposed to be the Adam Buxa or Gustavo Bo replacement. Ended up scoring 22 goals in 78 appearances for the Revs, and they got traded to Montreal this offseason. Why was it time to move on from him?
It's very. This goes back to Adam Buxa was transferred out to I believe FC Lens in Ligue 1 in France. Polish international level striker behind Lewandowski. The efficiency that he had in goal as a true, I think he's 6'3", like target guy, was incredible. The Revolution being able to aim for him caused a lot of defensive presence to collapse on him. And when you don't have that level of target man and you don't have that level of efficiency, a lot of the balls you lump into the box just aren't going anywhere. So teams are no longer afraid of it, and teams don't need to track your, 5'11" Italian Albanian guy who's just not a target striker. So the 2022 in particular was a rough go for Vrioni because even into 2023 with Bruce Arena, because he just wasn't, he wasn't the style the Revs were used to playing. The Revs were used to playing fast, lumping balls into the box from crosses and just following up with runners. And it just took them a while to adjust away from that. But it worked for a little bit. It wasn't perfect. But the beginning of 2023, they kind of sort of figured it out. Veroni was making good runs. Bobby Wood was playing a whole bunch as well. He was able to, draw a lot of space. Guys like Dylan Barrero were coming in and Gustavo Bo on the backside, and, getting a lot of, chances on goal. It just wasn't happening. When you have a particular striker up top, particularly a DP striker, you really need to cater your attacking style to what their strengths are. And that's not something that New England did easily under Arena. And then it was absolutely non-existent under Porter. One of the problems for New England, when you're not getting the ball into the box, you're starving your striker touches. New England has never been a heavy attacking third touches. They're not going to sit in the attacking third and just pass the ball around. This is not the Lee Wynn, Jay Heaps era where they kind of did that back in 2014 during their other MLS Cup run. This is an offense that needs to counterattack and play quickly. So if you're not counterattacking, playing quickly, you're not getting Giacomo Veroni running at people. You're not getting Carlos Gil running at people. Not getting Dylan Barrero on the ball with speed, running at people. That's what New England's success was back in 2021. We were able to get, guys like Tajon Buchanan on the ball, running at people, and now you've got a 4-on-4 and your entire back line is backpedaling going, what do we do? Who's stopping the ball? Who's got the trailing runner? You can't even figure out where the ball is at the moment because you've got four guys who are looking around going, I think we're in trouble. By the time you've realized that, New England's already putting a shot on target. That's just not the speed of the game that Porter is playing, and I think that's been a tremendous problem under his tenure the last year and a half.
Now, before we move on, is there anyone else from this list that you really want to talk about?
I really miss Bobby Wood. I can't explain to you how great it is to have just a backup striker that's just smart like Bobby Wood. Obviously, from a physical standpoint, he's older. We're not going to have him, blowing by guys or anything like that. But just the level of intelligence that he has off the ball last year and in 2023 was just so evident and so helpful. Maxi Urruti's done an okay job without Campana up top, but he's just not that style of player. He really needs to be on the ball. And we aren't able to get it to him because we aren't getting the ball up into the attacking third, which we're taking our sweet time getting the ball from the midfield to the attacking third, from the midfield up to the attackers. And it's the same problems that you had with Veroni up top. It's just not working. And when you have a guy who's used to kind of operating without the ball and knows how to create space for other people, it's just really helpful. It's just something that was an underrated thing that Bobby Wood did when he was playing up top. Not that you wanted him playing up top as much as he was due to injuries or what have you, but it's just something you can never underestimate having an MLS veteran that's able to be productive even if he's not hitting the score sheet. And that's what I think the hope was with Urruti. He's just stuck in the same trap that everyone else has been in as far as Revs strikers have been the last couple of years.
Now let's jump into the season so far for New England, which hasn't been great. Let's talk about a team that is 13th in the East right now with 4 points and a 1-4-1 record, but most alarmingly has only scored 3 goals in 6 games. And one of those was an own goal. 2 of them were Carlos Gil set pieces, one of which was a penalty. What's missing from this attack?
Speed. Caleb Porter, again, this is a personal opinion. I don't know how many people share this with me. I'm sure I'll probably use them out. I think the style that Caleb Porter plays is too slow. There are very few teams in MLS that can play a truly possession style build-up play and have it be effective. You need to have technical wizards really across the board. It's not what New England has. New England has speed when it's healthy. Obviously, that's been another big part of why New England has been bad the last few years. You go out and sign, Dylan Barrero. He gets a serious injury. Okay, we're going to bring in Thomas Joncle to replace him. He picks up a serious injury right as Barrero gets back from his first one. You sign Luca Langoni to replace the other winger that you now have that's no longer there. And you have this revolving door of DP U22 wingers that are just covering for each other while they get back from injury. But when New England, when 2021 was at their best, it was speed. Tajon Buchanan torching people, DeJuan Jones off on the fullback side torching people, just getting the ball up quickly and getting in one-on-one situations and then creating off of it. And right now, New England's not doing that. They're playing too slow. They're getting the ball into Carlos Gil, but instead of getting the ball to Carlos Gil, maybe somewhere in the middle of the attacking half, he's getting the ball at midfield. Well, that's 20 yards. You've now got to advance the ball so that Carlos Hill can be that much more effective. And we're still playing that game of how do we get Carlos Hill the ball on the right side of the 50, as it were. And it's been a process, and it's an unfortunate thing. Some of it last year was injuries at the beginning of the year, some fixture congestion. I understand that. But at the same time, this is not a new problem New England has had. It's kind of the same problem. Bruce Arena kind of had it figured out before he left. It wasn't pretty a lot of times, but it worked. And then last year, the problem with playing slow and being in your own half a lot with a lot of guys who are not your main starters, you're turning the ball over a lot and you're already on, right in the middle of your attacking third, basically, by the time the other team picks up the ball. So, when you talk about a lot of the goals the Revs gave up, a lot of the goals the Revs give up are second chances, recycled balls, turnovers in your own half. And if you were playing a far more direct and aggressive system, those turnovers are, instead of being 40 yards away from goal, they're 80 yards away from goal. And now you've got 50 more yards to recover and set up your defense as opposed to 3 yards. And I think that's an underrated aspect of what New England's been trying to fix. Obviously, the defensive side, it has been fixed a little bit, but the transition into the attack has still been almost non-existent. You can see that last in expected goals, last in, I think, shots, last in goals, last in shooting percent. Every attacking metric you can find, this team is last. And that's not a coincidence if you've watched this team over the last year and a half.
Now, you brought up Caleb Porter and how his style kind of slowed things down for the Revs. We have a show we do every Monday, MLS Monday, where we talk about stuff around the league. And it feels like every week we're asking, is this the week that Caleb Porter gets fired? Because it feels that way. And it seems like he won a couple weeks with, the win against the Red Bulls where Carlos Hill bailed him out with those 2 goals. Tell me about kind of your view on this whole situation. How long does Caleb Porter make it as the manager of New England this season?
I think if the Revolution are going to make a change, I still think Caleb Porter has at least another month, maybe even 2. I think, until the summer window really starts to heat up, there's no urgency to make the change now because you're not able to change anything on the roster. The roster is kind of what it is. I think he has until the summer transfer window. If you're still well below the playoff line, I think it's time to go, particularly if you still have Jim Curtin available as an MLS candidate. You're no longer in a win now mode. You hired Caleb Porter last year, and the line was, this is a win now roster. We're going to turn it around. We're going to run it back. And we've got a guy who's won two MLS Cups and shown up with rosters, and he'll go out and win. That didn't happen. So now you've transitioned into a rebuild mode. Caleb Porter's not a builder in MLS. He never has been. That's not his MO. He's there to go out and win MLS Cups. Well, if he can't get you into the playoffs, he can't get you an MLS Cup. There's no reason to really keep him around. It's a narrative that I've been hammering home. I know I'm probably annoying for the handful of readers who actually care about my nonsense, but the logic of keeping around, a win now coach when you're not in win now mode won't make sense in another couple of months. And I would expect before the transfer window, if the Revs are going to do it, that's when it would be. And your first phone call should be to Jim Curtin if you haven't done that already.
Jim Curtin, a solid pick, one that Atlanta was looking at initially, was a candidate for this job. Ultimately, Atlanta went with Ronnie Dyla. Let's talk about that game that's coming up on Saturday. Here is the predicted 11 that you sent me. Walk me through it and highlight some of the key players for me.
All right, so the back line, actually, this is effectively the back line the Revs are going to have probably for the next few years. I believe everyone in this back line is under the age of 25, and Peyton Miller's a teenager. So this is a group that's been really impressive compared to the, well, let's say literal dumpster fire that the defense was kind of sort of last year. Peyton Miller's really going to be the highlight here. This is why you were able to make the DeJuan Jones trade, because you're like, okay, we're kind of bad right now. Let's open up enough space so we can get Peyton Miller a whole bunch of minutes, because as a U.S. youth international who is capable already of being a starter in MLS. Now, he's not going to be an elite level left back in this league, probably for a few more years, but getting him those minutes and those reps in a couple more years, if you are out of rebuild mode and you're actually in competition, well, now you're going to have a 20-year-old 3-year MLS vet playing left back who's still able to torch people. Really, the attack is where we're going to start getting into problems. So striker's an issue. Ignatius Ganigo is on loan. He's only on a 6-month loan. This is actually a really interesting move that the Revs did. So knowing that they kind of had an opening for 6 months until Chancalay came back, they kind of went out and found like a number 9 winger type to help fill the void. There is some kind of clause where if he plays a whole bunch or the Revs can trigger it, it's a full year loan. And then I think he might end up being a DP. Right now, I think he's just on a U22 or a weird kind of sort of contract, but the Revs will have to pick that up for the second half of the year based on some kind of performance clause. I don't know exactly what it is, and the game knows exactly what it is. The reason I have him up top today is the simple reason of when he gets on the ball, he actually looks like he wants to get forward. He actually tries to get forward, and he actually occasionally tries to shoot. Now, I don't know if he's particularly good at any of those things, but that's okay. Because right now, I don't need anyone who's good at it. I just need someone who's trying to be good at it, and that's a low bar that we're trying to meet on offense. I'm actually flipping the wingers today. Luca Langoni normally plays on the right. I'm going to put him on the left. I want to see what him and Peyton Miller can do as a flanking combination because I'm bored. I want to see how that works. The other reason I'm doing this is I have Noah Buck in the starting lineup. Noah Buck, I don't think has any minutes yet this year for the New England Revolution. Neither does his homegrown counterpart, Jack Paniotto, who's normally a attacking midfield number 8 kind of type when he was on loan last year with Rhode Island. Again, I want players on the field that are going to get the ball and are going to look to go forward, not sideways or backwards or whatever. No. I want to be aggressive. In order to be aggressive, I need people on the field who are naturally inclined to turn and look forward, turn and try and go forward. And this attacking group, for the most part, does that. And you're hoping that some combination of Yusuf, Fofana, Ceballos, Polster are sending enough balls forward to where they can make this work. Miller and Feingold contributing when they can, when they get up from the fullback spot. Feingold's a very aggressive fullback. I think already got 3 yellow cards in 6 games. Probably a guy who's going to be prime for at least this year and next year. Someone who's probably going to miss a couple of games due to yellow card accumulation, suspensions, and you're kind of okay with that because it's a new league for him. And again, he's a naturally aggressive player. I don't mind him getting forward. I don't mind him taking some tactical yellows every now and again as he learns and gets smarter at what he does. But it's not a bad lineup. It's just getting the ball transitionally forward has really been an issue because part of it style, part of it talent last year. It's just been a rough go. And obviously Carlos Hill's still pulling the strings. He's still an elite player in this league. He showed it against the Red Bulls. Listen, as he gets a little longer in the tooth, as it were, his set pieces are still something to be scared of in this league. And the hope was Fofana and Ceballos in the preseason were showing, hey, you know what? We might not be terrible on set pieces anymore. That was another big problem post Adam Buksa. Again, when you don't have a giant 6'3" Polish forehead to aim for, those set pieces are a lot less threatening. And the hope was with Ceballos and Fofana and others, hey, we actually have people who can get into the box and actually get on the end of some of these crosses and be more effective on set pieces because the Revs used to generate a ton of corners a few years ago. I don't know how well they're doing that this year, but that was something that we harped on for several years of we are bad at set pieces. And being able to deliver good balls in the box to people who can get up for the actual header is something that makes this team just that much more dangerous when they are in transition, when they are on the attack, and they are generating not just shots on target, but they're generating, second chance corners, recycled balls, and things like that. So it's a lot of pieces that are still trying to come together. And, Ganigo's, I think for the most part, he's only played on the wing and he's finished games up top. He's never started a game up top for the Revs yet. So I think, why not under the house of horrors that is Mercedes-Benz Stadium? Let's give him a go. Why not? What could be worse? We've already given up a touchdown there a couple of times. It can't get much worse than that.
Now, I want to talk a little bit more about Carlos Gil. He is one of the many players now that kind of feels like an Atlanta United killer in a sense. 4 goals in 9 regular season games against Atlanta, including a goal of the last time, I think it was the last time, or one of the last times. Oh, it was 2023, sorry. That 3-3 draw. A goal like a minute into the game, and then a goal in stoppage time when we thought a Miguel Berry screamer was going to win it. Nah, here comes Carlos Gil in stoppage time to just destroy our dreams and make the one Miguel Berry goal. He's Tommy's favorite player, by the way. The one Miguel Berry goal, not really mean much at the end of things. By the way, here's one for you.
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta is Carlos Gil's second favorite team to play against. The first, Orlando, in terms of goals that he has scored against.
That actually doesn't shock me. And it feels like we play the Southeast teams like oddly a lot. I've never understood why that is. We had a running joke years ago, I think during COVID. The only reason why the Union won the Shield that year is because I think they played us like 5 times and we were terrible. So like, oh, you guys are welcome. Well, you guys can send us the assist for that trophy because you beat us like 4 times in a row, wherever it was. It's been interesting because New England has so many just bad games that have occurred, particularly in Atlanta. I believe it's 2 red cards that have been overturned on Disco committee appeals that have happened in the first half. Both of which I looked at as, I'm like, I don't know, guys. It's definitely not yellow. I'm not sure how we got red from that. Might want to look at that. You looked at it, you still think you've got a red, and then the other people are at the end of the week are like, no, okay, no, you guys have done this wrong. But no, I think Carlos, it's just one of those things where you have a player that's so talented, and God, Atlanta and Orlando in particular, I think those are the kind of sort of the teams I look at and go, why aren't we playing like speed guys like that? Like, why those guys are attacking? Do more of that. Well, yeah, they leave kind of a lot, counterattacks and other things like that. I'm like, I don't care. Have you seen our defense the last couple of years? It's been terrible. I'd rather lose 4-3 than lose 4-0. And that's kind of sort of where I think Carlos Gil comes in. It's just like there are just games where he's going to be able to produce just moments of magic. And yes, he's known to do that early. He's known to do that late. He's the only other guy who, in recent memory, who's done any of that is Gustavo Bo, who, again, I say he's a sorcerer because just like, no, there's no way he's going to try that. Well, he tried it. Not only did he try it, found top bins against Montreal in the playoffs in the playing game that one year. You're just like, okay, all right, we'll take that. I'm not sure if we earned it, but we'll take it. There's so much of that when you have a player that's special, as you guys had with Almiron and others over the years. You guys know what it's like having someone who's that good in that form, and that's we had that with Carlos Gil in 2021. And it was an amazing venture to watch him pull the strings, just like it was with Lee Win in 2014. You know that you're watching something special, and you just kind of sort of accept it when you're on the other end because it's like, this isn't going to last. There's going to be games where we're going to have Philly drop 6 goals on us or 5 goals on us, whatever it was, and you're gonna be like, all right, well, this stinks. But eventually we know, Carlos Gil, he'll bail us out. But it's you need definitely a team effort to pull that off, and usually against Atlanta, that's been a sore spot for the Revs. It's just not always been a very great match, I think, for us.
Now, tell me a little bit about the strengths and weaknesses of this New England side going into this game. Where can they hurt Atlanta, and where can Atlanta hurt them?
Definitely I mentioned the fullbacks being aggressive for the Revs. The Revs get caught up in the attacking half, and they've only got maybe a holding midfielder and the 2 center backs. But you can get a lot of 3-on-3 type rushes against the Revs. The Revs like to, kind of settle into possession and kind of dink and dunk their way down the field. Now you screw up one of those passes and suddenly you're giving up an odd man rush or a even rush the other way. And the Revs are going to give up that ground. They're going to concede that, 40, 50 yards. They'll happily wait till you get to the top of the box before they're like, all right, now we're going to try and stop you. I think they should do sometimes that's a little bit earlier, but also you're hoping to get more guys back in the defense and things like that. Definitely getting the fullbacks forward and getting caught out would be a concern. Revolution haven't given up a ton of goals like that. They have given up a ton of chances like that. This year, instead of giving up like a 2-on-1 kind of rush, it's been a lot more 3-on-3 type thing. So New England definitely is, I think, practicing and aware that that's kind of a problem for them. Attacking wise, really, it's kind of the same thing. Don't turn the ball over in your own half. It hasn't happened a lot. The Revs are not a great pressing team, but they are very, very quick to pounce on a mistake. That's something that more harkens back to like the 2021, 2022 years when they were a lot better at it and they were a lot faster. But definitely something I think they're trying to get more of is when they get a quick turnover, definitely being more aggressive with it, particularly the last 2 weeks. Like I said, there hasn't been a whole lot of chances inside the box the first month of the year, but the last couple of games, the Red Bull win and Cincinnati lost, the Revolution have been getting into the box more and they have been getting better chances. Now they're still bad at shooting. They're still bad at finishing, but at least the chances are there and the intent is there. And right now, that's for a team in 13th. I will take the baby step victory, knowing that hopefully it'll lead to something better when Campana is back, when Shankly is back, when you have your full complement of attackers, and then someone like Ganago is coming off the bench as a change of pace guy or a different, the old Teal Bunbury target winger type. And then you still have the youngsters, Buck, veterans like Luis Diaz coming off the bench. Those types of things really makes the depth make a lot more sense. Right now, the Revs up top, just a little bit thin right now, not where they want to be early in the year, another early season hole. But, it's so hard in MLS with the salary cap and everything else. Leo Campana, your $2 million GAM, TAM, Garber Buck forward, he's not there. So you have to kind of sort of make with what you have. You weren't generating a whole lot of offense with him, so it's not the end of the world. But the goal is, while you're working out your offensive problems, when you plug and play your, actual number 9 up there, that it'll make a whole lot more sense.
All right, Jake. Now, as we get into what is arguably the most important part of this show, the score prediction challenge. Now, we run a little competition amongst us Scarves and Spikes staff, and we bring you guys, the guests on this show, into it as well. Y'all are in second place right now, so y'all are doing pretty good.
The guests are in second place. Oh dear.
The guests are in second place, so you gotta keep the strong start. You gotta do better than New England.
I have to not embarrass. So what I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna give this one to Atlanta, but I'm only gonna make it 2-1.
2-1.
I think Atlanta's just better than their record indicates. I know the defensive numbers look a little strange. But I know Atlanta can score goals. And to me, that's something that makes it hard to predict a win, particularly knowing how many times we've gone down to Atlanta and it's gone kind of horribly wrong. I don't think the Revs are playing that badly defensively. But Atlanta is very talented. We know Atlanta can score goals, and that's something where eventually the dam is going to break. Now, I do think somehow the Revs will find one. It's going to be ugly. Something's going to go wrong. I think for you guys, we'll nick one. But for the most part, I would expect Atlanta to kind of sort of score one, not so much early, but 30th minute, maybe another one right after halftime, and the Revs kind of scramble one in the second half. So that's kind of where I'll go with that one. You also could add another Owen goal to our tally, because right now he's one behind Carlos Heel. So if you want to really put the screws to the Revs, you guys could add one to his total and make him even with Carlos for the year. That'd be something to think about.
That's smart. I mean, look, Atlanta has had its fair share of mistakes at the back, so it could definitely happen.
Yeah, I think that'd be the one.
Ongo has 2 goals for us too, by the way, so he's the MVP of both of our teams.
That's not good. That's not good. But at least that's kind of the one thing. We know, listen, I know Atlanta's been giving up a lot of goals. You're just God, that guy shouldn't be giving up that many. I understand it's not the strength of Atlanta. We know where the strength is for Atlanta. It's on their offense. I don't expect the defense to be that, I won't say bad, but that it's going to balance out, I think, a little bit. But, to see Atlanta, I think you guys are below the red line right now. That's a little surprising to me, because I know the talent that's on that team. And I know it's early, but I'm no, I don't think 12 goals in 7 games is something that's going to last on that defense. I figure that'll sort itself out at some point. And oh, look, here come the New England Revolution. Guess when it's going to sort itself out? I have a good feeling about this one. It's not for my team.
just barely just barely below the red line right now.
Mhm.
Hopefully not so once the week is done. Anyway, any final thoughts about this game?
No, I really hope that again, if I really want Caleb Porter to try something different on the offensive side. Like I said, I don't expect Noel Buck to start. I want to be very clear. He's not played any minutes for the Revs this year, which is a separate problem that I believe Matt Doyle, MLS Soccer, kind of mentioned. Hey, why aren't you playing the kids? If you're going to be bad, at least play the kids. And that's, I think, where the territory that we're starting to get into of, I don't mind, being bad is fine, relatively. Being bad and not and continuing to do bad things is not fine, and that's sort of the territory that we're in right now. So, at least if I know you're trying different things and you realize, okay, we're identifying what the problem is with the soccer team, and might actually be the head coach is the problem among other things. I don't think this roster is a 13th place roster in MLS. I think it's probably not a roster that's going to win a couple of playoff series, but it certainly is a roster that I think should be in the playoffs if all things are working. And right now they're just not. So we'll see how it goes. Atlanta's not a happy place for most Revs fans. So hopefully we won't add to the general house of horrors, and it's just going to be, you know what? Caleb Porter keeps harping on, we kind of sort of played well. We were right there. And I don't know about that for some of those games of early part of the year, but certainly against Cincinnati, you gave up one goal. It's kind of sort of a weird goal. You could have tied that game. Ties aren't really something the Revs are after right now. We're after wins, and we're just not really capable of those at the moment until we sort out if and when Campana gets back and healthy, if and when Chocolate comes back and healthy, we'll know just how good that attack could be, and then we'll know how short of a leash Mr. Porter has going into the summer, because right now it's not a very long leash, and we'll see if the Revs can straighten themselves out and get it going after everyone gets back and healthy. But digging yourselves out of a hole the second straight year, not a place they wanted to be, and they wanted off to a fast start. And the schedule's not getting easier this month, so we'll see how it goes. But it's not a lot of confidence building right now in Revs land.
Now, where can people find you and your work on the New England Revolution?
When I'm awake during normal business hours, which is never, they can find me at Jake Catanese 43 on Twitter. And you can find us at theblazingmusket.com. I do a preview series usually every week. I got to bug Sydney and send him some questions on that. And then Sam and Seth and the rest of the crew have got you guys covered on game days and podcasts and what have you. So it's a good time. We try to do our best during these dark times, being almost in last place again. Not something we like doing, but it is what it is. Nothing we can do about it. We just have to go out there, hope the team continues to get better. And Caleb Porter says, we're right there. We're right there. It doesn't look like a loss. Well, it is a loss, but it doesn't look like one. I'm like, no, it looks like a loss because it is a loss, Caleb, but that's okay. You guys are trying. We know that they're trying. Hopefully that effort will eventually lead to results, surprising as they were against the Red Bulls. We definitely stole that one. I don't know if we're going to steal one in Atlanta this week, but we'll see. Stranger things have happened in this contest, particularly in Atlanta. So you never know what Carlos Hill might conjure up there at the end.
We'll see what happens. Atlanta United versus the New England Revolution. That's going to be Saturday, April 12th at 2:45 p.m. in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. If you haven't already, be sure to check out the website, scarsandspikes.com, for news, opinions, all kinds of articles going up there all the time. Check out the shop. We got some really cool merch. We got t-shirts with the new logo, the community logo. We have hats. We have tons of other stuff that you can go check out. And if you haven't already, be sure to join the Patreon for $1.17 a month. You get access to the Discord, and then it goes from there. If you go up the tiers, you get access to more stuff, including bonus content, our watch-alongs for away games, tons of other cool stuff, and you get discounts on our merch. That about wraps it up for this episode of Across the Pitch. Jake, thank you so much for your time, man.
Anytime, guys. Thanks for having me.